Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Trusted Podcast. We've got Fader on the line. This is Tyson.
Aloha, brother. I want to say aloha, but I'm back in Coldville, Eastern United States, New York and Philadelphia. Hey.
But you did visit a golf course there, didn't you?
Oh yeah, couple of dandies.
That's awesome.
Couple of dandies. One you don't talk about and the other one you can talk about. But you don't tell anybody when you play those really good courses because then they never invite you back.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Don't let go of the secret.
But the Masters was awesome, yes. But I didn't get to play. That was to watch.
Yeah.
What a great year. Rory. Woo.
That's amazing. Yeah. I was reading up about him. Holy cow. What a long run. And he just kept at it.
Talk about a pillar pounder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
12 years since he's won his last major event, and to be able to get the lifetime Grand Slam. The Grand Slam is when you win all four in 1 year, and that's 4 people have done that, but he's the 5th person to win the career, I think. Don't quote me.
Yeah, within his career. That's awesome.
And he's just such a good guy. And how his parents did so much to help him so that he could get out into the world of golf in the first place. He really hasn't divulged all that, so that was so sweet. Anyway, thrilled.
Well, speaking about golf, you have a book that you've been writing called 1,000 Courses, and I think you said that it's coming out soon, yeah?
Father's Day.
Yeah, that's a pretty good day to bring it out, yeah?
Yeah, it is, because the whole point of the book is to help each dad, mom, child find their 1,000 courses, whatever that would be. That dream that's on the shelf, that's been my dream. That's to travel the world and get to know the different cultures of the world through golf. That was my dream. Yes, I am a fanatic, a golfaholic. Yes. Yes, but that wasn't the purpose of it, was to golf 1,000 courses. The purpose was to get to know the other cultures of the world and the people of the world, a big family. And so it's been fantastic. I'm super excited about it, and I think people are going to love it. I really do. It's got some great things that people can relate to.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then another thing that you shared recently is a song from that's like inspired by the book that you wrote, The Billions. And I've listened to that song and it's actually really good. So we're going to make sure that we put that on the website for all of you. I'll make sure to put a link in the description so you guys can hear it, because it's actually really good. It's on iTunes. So is it just called The Billions?
It's on all the outlets. It's on the outlets. What's that?
Is the song just called The Billions?
Yeah, it is called The Billions.
Okay.
And so super grateful. Shout out to my brother Jeff, who has always been a good fan of the book, and he read the book and then he created the lyrics, and there you go.
Put the song together. There we go. Yeah.
So yeah, my first song, never thought I'd ever do that, but hey, here you go.
Well,
so now we got to get one for Daddy of the Year.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, that's the next project. That's cool. Well, speaking of just interacting with a lot of people, I know that you get a lot of questions, and we get a lot of questions from different people seeking coaching, seeking guidance, and we just want to be able to take this episode and answer some of the questions. And so one of the first questions that came in is, what is a DAF fund? Maybe you could spell that out and describe what that is.
Yeah, thrilled about once a month, every other podcast, to do a question and answer where people I can reach out and touch my entire group of people that I'm coaching, my snipers, as I say, rather than just one at a time. And so I had about 6 questions that came up over the last week, and I thought, let's just start with those.
Yeah.
A donor advisor fund is one of the most, creative ways to be able to put money into an account. And then let's pretend we'll use $10,000, and you use that $10,000. You get to fully deduct that. It's like a charitable contribution. The monies are then invested, and you get to choose how those monies are invested. They usually have different kind of prototypes that you choose. And then when you want to make a contribution, be it to a church or to the Red Cross or anything that is a 501c3. It must qualify for that. You can't do it for your son's sports team.
Yeah.
Unless they're a 501c3. So which most of them are. And so you're going to take that, and then you just type it online. You just go online into your account. Say, I want to make a $2,000 contribution to my church, or $1,000 to the Red Cross, or to any single charity that you'd like to, then it is done. The fees usually run about 0.5%. Okay, so it's usually quite reasonable. So per year, and that's really nice. But it's just all electronically done. It's just like, and you open that up through any kind of brokerage, like a Schwab, or I'm not sure if like Robinhood for the younger generation, they're using that a lot. But I use the Schwab platform, and right now, if you open up an account, they have a golf thing going on right now, so you can get a new driver. Ooh.
Oh, there you go.
If you make a large contribution, then you can like play 4 of the coolest golf courses in America. But anyway, that's just an add-on.
That's awesome.
But it is really a slick thing. One, it keeps things really private and very personal. Specifically, those who are in the LDS church, they have really, there used to be a bunch of guys in the ward clerk and et cetera, and your bishop and everything. They know exactly how much you're paying in tithing and stuff. And that's not really necessary anymore. It's just, yes, I'm a full tithe payer, or yes, wherever you want to make whatever church you're going to, you can make a contribution directly to that. I recently made a contribution to like a group of guys that I really like in St. George, Utah, called the Caddy Group, that I started 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And just online, boom, you can do it anonymously. You can have it in the name of somebody. You can put it in the name of your own. You can make up your own name.
Yeah.
Like my foundation is called Turn the Page Foundation. And so you make your own foundation, and it's just all there at your fingertips. Super to do. And then every year you just keep making contributions to that, or every time you feel like putting money into your charitable trust fund, and the money grows. And I recently had a guy tell me that the money that he had made off of the money that he had put in the account paid for all of his charitable contributions.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's not just sitting in your, Wells Fargo account getting a whopping 0.3%.
Right.
It can be in the market.
Okay.
And so it can go up 5%, 10%, 20%. But on the other hand, it also can decrease. But they usually have them in pretty diversified funds, so that prohibits you from losing dramatically. Okay.
So the use case for that, or at least the point, is partly to have a kind of a private, separate holding place that can be invested, to also grow your funds, and then to use to pay for charities and things like that. Is that correct?
Yep.
Cool.
And in the world we live in, it's just so awesome. Then they shoot you a response. The charity will shoot you an email back. So it's all great for tax purposes and stuff like that. And then when you go to fill out your taxes, it's, where did you put your contribution? You'll put $10,000. I put $10,000 into the Turn the Page Charitable Trust Foundation.
Okay.
So the IRS knows where it's going. They don't know where you're paying it to.
In the donor advisory fund that I've titled Turn the Page,
Tyson Bradley Fund.
Tyson Bradley Charities, whatever.
Yep.
That's cool.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all good.
That's
all great. Okay. Question number 2.
Okay. 5 things I can do to get closer to Jesus.
Well, this came because there wasn't 5. He just said, I'm really struggling. I'm really struggling on how I can get closer to Jesus. And I'm like, well, the proverbial, the ones we've known about for years, and the people that read your scriptures, say your prayers, go to the temple. Those things are fantastic. Not going there. I'm not ever, to each his own. But I came up with a whole bunch more personally, and I've shared that with a lot of my snipers. Like I wear a cross and a dolphin, because when I'm in the water, that's when me and Jesus have our best talks, or on the golf course. So whether I'm on my surfboard, or snorkeling, or scuba diving, or swimming with Heidi, et cetera, beautiful nature, or just in a swimming pool, doesn't matter. I love to rub my hands together, put one hand over my heart and say, open up. I love to pray in different places, whether it's out in nature, or whether you're using your screensaver, have a beautiful picture on the front of that. Every time I turn my screensaver on, there is my Jesus. I have a wonderful thing on my water bottle that I carry around. You can get as creative as you want, but my challenge to everybody is to come up with a minimum of 5 unique and different ways that you connect, because the relationship gets kind of boring. And I'm really rude when I say this, but I don't know anybody who has a great relationship with Jesus, and you're not going to be the first one. The reason is because you do all the talking, and you don't have a good relationship with anybody where you do all the talking. I mean, you just don't. The key is to let him do, or her, or it or whatever your higher source might be do more of the talking to your soul. And that is what has meant so much to so many. And so there's a scripture that says, "Don't counsel me, but don't counsel me, but take counsel from me."
Yeah.
Well, the listening part is all due to time, right? Our time horizons. So learning, practicing, I carry a little, where'd that golf ball go? It's in my pocket. I have this little Titleist Pro V1 golf ball that on the side of it says practice.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and I carry
Yeah.
it because what am I practicing? Lots of 8 different things in our program, right?
Yeah.
But each one of them is a practice.
Right.
And so learning how to connect with Jesus Christ is nothing more than a better practice than what you're doing. So
I
hope that
might
helps.
well, something that you taught me long ago was the yellow pad prayer. It's like
Mm,
sometimes just writing out your prayers. Like that's what got me started in connecting in a deeper way because my brain just couldn't hold the attention of just asking a question and sitting with it. Things like that,
mm,
imagination, like getting visual. Imagine by Jesus at a campfire and just imagine him walking with you. And I think that that can do a lot in being able to
mm.
connect. So
Terrific ideas.
I'll just
Yeah,
toss
another
those
one of
in.
my favorites is I call it the passenger seat.
Yeah.
I was recently on a golf trip down in Palm Springs with a couple of my favorites, and one of them was sitting right next, was sitting in the passenger seat, and I just looked over and said, 8 years ago, I didn't even know you. And now we're going on a golf trip together. I
Mm.
don't care who I put in that passenger seat, anywhere in the world, they would be my friend. And so one of the best persons to put in that passenger seat is Jesus. And hop
Yeah.
in your car and look over and say, "Hey, where are we going?"
Yeah. Well, and if you feel like you can get some of your best, if you can dedicate some of your best time to actually talking with the Lord, just asking Him the question, "How can I connect with you?"
Hmm.
That helps you get creative. I think that helps you access a little bit more of, when you're in a place of contemplation. That's the place to listen. Love that. So another player reached out and asked, just like, how do we create a better day? Maybe even like the
Hmm.
perfect day. And you mentioned just a process that you had learned, and we even created a worksheet on this specific way of approaching a day. But maybe you can talk more about that.
I love this exercise. It really did transform the way I look at my day. Covey has a really good idea: put in the rocks and then pour in the sand. That's
Hmm.
awesome. But you look at your 3 major ones: sleep, business, your work. I mean, those are the two. And then 20 years ago, I was at a seminar, and the guy took 7 different topics, and he just said, "All right, rank them. What's most important?" And just about everybody put 600 of us, and everybody put family. And then he said, "All right, now tell me how much time you give to the family." And
Yeah.
it was just an eye opener for everyone. And it always is because, say you're sleeping 8 hours and say you're working 8, 9 hours, there's 17 of the 24. So what are you doing with the other 7? How much time are you spending in your physical world? How much time are you spending in your spiritual world, your social world, your sexual world, your relationship world,
Hmm.
your financial world? And since we cover these 8 topics completely, we've created an amazing sheet of paper that allows you to dissect how you would create the perfect day if you could spend the time creating that day. And then another piece of paper, okay, so now go back to last week and pick a day and write out how many hours you slept, how many hours you worked, how much time you
Yeah.
spent in the other 6 areas. And that contrast is powerful. It's humiliating and it hurts, but it works
Yeah.
because sometimes those owies are just what we need. It's like, oh, I'm neglecting.
You can't change what you can't see. And so
Yeah.
just the awareness of it is the first step. So that we'll try and link the worksheet in the description so you guys can
Yeah.
benefit
Give
from
that
that.
away to everybody. And I
Yeah.
hope they'll have a good time with that.
Yeah. So I think someone else asked about Bitcoin. You have any words on Bitcoin?
More like 20. Yeah. Bitcoin went up to, it went over 105 bucks and then it went down to 78 just recently within the last 2 months.
Mm.
And just a couple of years ago, it was at 16. And so how do I do Bitcoin? You can use Coinbase. You can use there's a bunch of ways to do it, but yes, I highly recommend that everybody buy some Bitcoin. And how and why? How? Just find the platform and, every Monday go in and put in $100, or once a month, $1,000, whatever, $10, whatever.
Yeah.
But start a dollar cost averaging process. As a guy who's been, coaching finance for 40 years, dollar cost averaging is an effective way to take advantage of the ups and downs of the market, not trying to time it. Went down to 79,000, and one of my guys said, "Hey, is it a good time now?" And I'm like, "It's never a bad time. There are just to save. There are just
Right.
sometimes better luck in the timing of it all."
Yeah.
And it's back up to $88, $89 today and stuff like that. But yes, have some Bitcoin, because what is going to happen is what I've told most of my players is that we have to wait for the government to get their hands on it and to have some regulations. And it's got to have some system to it that doesn't run the dollar completely haywire. And
Yeah.
then we'll see what happens of it. But, there's a lot of people out there think it's going to be the currency, the trading vehicle in the future. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Nor do I care. I just know that I need to have a little bit of both. All right. So, yes, that's an easy one. Do some
Awesome.
Bitcoin.
So another player wrote in about having a kid that's about 5 years old and just trying to understand a concept you've taught before, which is daddy trips. Like, how do I take my children on these trips and really build a connection with them?
One of the softest spots in my heart right there. I love my daddy trips, and I've been doing them since my children were young. And I just recently went to New York City with my 30-year-old beautiful Emily, and we took the two grandies, and my wife came along as well. And it was such a great reminder to me that if you want to have daddy trips with your children when they're gone from the house, then you better have them with them before they leave the house,
Yeah.
and create that tradition once a year. Now, his question was like, how much money do you spend?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just sleep in the tent in the backyard. Sometimes, I try to say when they're about 5 years old, and there's a chapter in the book, Daddy of the Year, which you can
Hmm.
hop on Trusted Coaching and just pull that out anytime you want, and read that book. My players all have access to it, but those of you from the public, just hop online and grab it. And it outlines it in detail. But the money is irrelevant. It's not secondary. It's way down the list. And people say,
Yeah.
well, like, oh, it takes a little creativity, but you can go stay at grandma's house, and for free, and then go out to dinner or take her to her favorite movie, or again, get creative. When I get mean, it's like every woman, every child's dream, right? To go to a movie and go to Golden Corral or Chuck-Up-A-Rama and have, that's your night. That's the best we can think of. There's 100 great ideas online that we have. And even for daddy trips, they can be as simple and as elaborate. And you want to hopefully try to do one of each, at
Yeah.
least, something really crazy and something really awesome. But just something as simple as sleep out in the backyard in the tent or on the trampoline.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when Danny and I just slept on the trampoline. He was 7 years old and woke up in the middle of the night and just came over and snuggled, and it was awesome. And then we had a little morning routine where I did a treasure hunt. So as soon as
Mm.
he woke up, we did the treasure hunt, which led to a little bit of money where we went out to breakfast, and he paid because it was with his money. We can get as creative as we want there, but daddy trips are at the heart and soul, and you can incorporate mama into the trip as well. It's not, you know, sometimes my daughters will tease me and they'll say, everything is daddy of the year, daddy trips, da, da, da. It's irrelevant. Mommy trip, mommy of the year,
Yeah.
grandpa of the year, grandma of the year,
Yeah.
uncle of the year, auntie of the year. Plug in what you want. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be, in today's world, one of those people. It's just daddy of the year because that's who I am,
Yeah.
who I want to be every year. Okay,
Yeah.
who do you want to be every year?
That's
So,
awesome.
and then the
Yeah.
last one was a
Yeah.
little more.
Yeah. I know that a number of people struggle with this, but you've had some questions about just how do you overcome pornography and what do you do with that when either your child or spouse or you're the one that's suffering from it. So this is an issue that definitely comes up a lot. So what's your
Coming up a
take?
lot. It's
Yeah.
one of the top 5 most talked about topics in the world.
Yeah.
And thank goodness we're talking about it, because
Yeah,
we
it's
used to
true.
not. We used to hide it, and shaming everybody. There's not enough time to get into this. Jennifer Finlayson Five, who you can jump over here, she just had her podcast today of a guy who's been struggling for 19 years, and it's It's it really tore at my heartstrings because I felt so much pain for this gentleman who's been struggling for 19 years and just doesn't have any hope and doesn't think he's ever going to get over it. And Jennifer was giving him some really good ideas. And I have learned from multiple sources, multiple people, working with so many people, it's really not the pornography that's the problem. It's what's underneath. It's what's called the root or the iceberg, for the Titanic.
Yeah.
The Titanic didn't see that. And we don't see these things coming. As your children begin to talk to you about it, or if your spouse is struggling with it, we try to create our own little ways of dealing with it and get a therapist and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a big time believer in therapists for a lot of different things. But I have seen very little help come from people dealing with therapists because the root usually comes from not feeling good enough, not loving themselves, or some kind of pressures they're dealing with. Okay. And so when you think about what pornography is leading to, it's leading to the release of some kind of pressure. And so it's symbolic for the very pressure that the person is dealing with, and then they don't really handle it in the best way, and then they feel like it's even worse. But the shaming of it is pretty much being met with lots of voices because shame just is a great destroyer. And in many religious environments, it's just frowned on, and it's really hard. And if you are in the LDS church, it can be really difficult because we don't really talk about much of anything, and parents don't do a really good job of it either, of talking to anybody. It's better today than it was because it's so easy for people to access. But it's really more about the plan. So once you've identified the root, then it's about putting together the plan. And so the steps I could give you, I can't really cater it right now because I don't know who I'm talking to, but the steps would be 100% you're not hiding. You're talking to your spouse, you're talking to your trusted advisor, your friend, you're talking to your therapist. Then you discover you talk about the root. If you get those two things, you're on your way. And then you look at the system that you have, there's two systems. The support that you have, and Jesus has got to be in that because he's the ultimate freedom guy.
Yeah.
And you want to try to incorporate him in the very best way because he's not unhappy with you. He's not angry at you. He's not disappointed at you. And that's so hard because sometimes parents are so disappointed. We feel about Jesus the way we feel about our parents, or et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
You don't want anybody who's disappointed in you to be helping you in your system. And then you sit down with your advisor, your therapist, and you create the plan, even your parents. You create the plan. And then getting people to follow the plan is more difficult than the pornography.
Yeah.
See, because that's where the challenge comes. So you incorporate finding something to replace it with, talking about it before you enter into the moment, and then you come, by playing a song or eating some licorice or just something to break up the way your brain is going, because it's just going to turn you into that. That desire is strong and powerful, and it was meant to be, to create and to get close to somebody and to experience that connection is the most beautiful thing. And when it is healthy, it is really beautiful. But when it's steeped in shame, it's not. So we work hard, Tyson, on helping people develop a plan and then holding them accountable to that plan and sharing that with them. So if there are people listening who have children or or spouses, then reach out to us and we would love to help you develop that. So there you go. I think our time is up.
Yeah.
I
No, that's
don't know.
awesome.
We like to keep it short, but I hope that's been a good Q&A session for everybody out there.
Yeah. And I'll just plug in that, if you want specific help with any of these things, then that's when you come and either join the group or you get a one-to-one with Fader, just because this is your chance to get that customization because it's different for everyone. And you have an advisor to counsel with you on the creative ways in which you can apply that are tailored to you. So we'll
Happy
just
to
link
do
it
it.
all.
Love doing it. Grateful for all the guys listening, gals, kids. Got a couple of 18-year-olds I just picked up. Great people. Just thank you guys. It's really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, brother. You can trust that.
You can trust it. We'll talk to you later.
Aloha.